Well, when I told him that I was pregnant, he kind of like was shocked a little bit. Then he was like, "She gonna be my 13th daughter. Like, how can I take care of all of them?"
His what child?
13th kid.
I told her I had 8. When I came back into town, I knock on the door, and the door opened. I see my pajamas. Mr. Ray has on the pajama top.
That is not true to me.
The gentleman has on the pajama bottom.
Your pajamas?
My pajamas. I didn't create no drama. I didn't fight. I didn't do anything. I turned around. I tell my cousin, I said, "Come on, let's go."
Things kick off wild, setting the stage for chaos. Ms. Toure accuses Mr. Lacey of being an absent dad to their grown son, Trevon. She's determined to prove he's the father and end his excuses. The judge braces for a messy showdown. Buckle up, the drama is just getting started.
Ms. Toure, you are in court to prove to your ex-boyfriend, Mr. Lacey, that he is the biological father of your adult son, Trevon Lacey. You state that the defendant has been an absentee father, full of excuses, and you want it all to end today in court with the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
And here comes the birth certificate bombshell. Ms. Toure flashes it like proof of gold, showing Mr. Lacey's name as the dad. He denies signing it, claiming he was in jail when Trevon was born. The he said, she said clash gets intense, with receipts flying everywhere. Don't blink, it's heating up fast.
Your Honor, I could not have signed the birth certificate. I was not, I was incarcerated at the time Trevon was born.
So this birth certificate, child's name, Trevon Lacey's father's name, Larry Lacey, but it's typed in. Was he present at the birth?
He was not present, no.
You basically just gave them his name.
I gave him his name.
And they typed it in.
Yes.
Money enters the mix, and things get messier. Mr. Lacey's been paying child support for years, reducing his debt to $5,000. He admits inconsistency, but insists he never agreed he was the dad. Paying bills while doubting paternity, the plot thickens with every twist.
You owe $37,200 and some odd dollars in child support, which you have
Knocked it down to $5,000.
You've got about $5,800.
You know, sometimes during them years I was unemployed. As soon as I find employment again, then, you know, my wages start being garnished.
But you've managed to pay that $37,000 down to almost $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Just when it couldn't get crazier, Ms. Toure drops a double life bomb. She claims Mr. Lacey vanished after she got pregnant, living with another woman nearby. Meanwhile, she faced the fallout alone. The revelations make this a reality TV-worthy saga.
My first time I had sex with Mr. Lacey, he got me pregnant, but I didn't know it at the time. So Mr. Lacey told me he left and went out of town. He disappeared. I don't know where he went, but later on down the road, as time revealed, he was living a double life. It was another woman in the neighborhood that he had left me for. So at that time, I thought, it was over.
Here comes the soap opera twist. Pajama drama. Mr. Lacey tells a wild tale of coming home to another man in his pajama bottoms and Ms. Toure in the matching top. She fires back, denying it. The visual is hilarious, but the tension is real. The drama's far from over.
When I came back into town, I knock on the door, and the door opened. I see my pajamas. Mr. Ray has on the pajama top.
That is not true to me.
The gentleman has on the pajama bottom. I didn't argue, I didn't fuss. I turned around, I tell my cousin, I said, "Come on, let's go." So we left.
So do you remember this incident with the pajamas, Mr. Ray?
He is straight lying, I'm telling you, Your Honor.
Enter Trevon, and the mood shifts. He opens up about growing up without a dad, feeling lost, and leaning on his mom who raised 3 kids solo. His heartfelt words tug at everyone's emotions. But a revelation is coming that'll flip his world.
Larry, I believe, growing up with my mom, there's a lot of things that I wish you could have been there with, as far as her having to be my father as well as my mother. I feel like if you were there, it was a lot of, heartache and headaches, which I believe are your grandchildren. They have a right to know who their grandfather is.
True.
I want to let you know that. I'm just ready to get these results so we can move forward in our lives.
The truth finally cracks open. Ms. Toure admits there was another potential dad. Trevon is stunned, his world shaken. This confession shifts everything, leaving the courtroom in disbelief, but there's still more to come.
Mom, do you know where this other man is?
I have no idea where he is, but he's aware that I was pregnant and Larry came back and all that. He's given me pictures, just in case this situation came out where the DNA say he is the father. He would be interested in getting back into my son's life.
You didn't know any of that was going on, did you?
No, ma'am.
And I'm sorry for that, son. I should have told you.
The moment of truth arrives with the DNA results.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Lacey, you are the father.
Thank you, Your Honor. I told you. I told you. Now stand up, give my son his respect.
Mr. Slaughter skips court, and drama sparks immediately. He claims he met Ms. Johnson years ago, lost touch, and only found out he might be a dad 2 years back. His response? That kid doesn't look like me. Why now? Hold tight, it's about to get messier.
Well, Ms. Johnson told me possibly about 2 years ago that I might be a possible father for Mr. Johnson. And my first reaction to that situation was like, I don't think so. He doesn't look anything like me. And why would you wait till he's a grown man to tell me that I might be a possible father when all this time you've known me and we've been friends and it never came up before?
Cue the soap opera vibes. Ms. Johnson confesses to calling every guy she'd been with, unsure of Damien's dad. Damien's frustrated, just wanting answers. The paternity puzzle deepens, and the tension skyrockets.
So your testimony is at the point you realized that man number 2 was not Damien's biological father. You basically started calling everybody you admittedly were sleeping with multiple men. You said you were fast, telling everybody I was having sex with, you could potentially be my son's biological father.
Yes, because we didn't end up following through with it back then, and that's why we're here today.
For a second, things seem sweet. Mr. Slaughter says he'll step up if he's the dad. Damien's interested but unsure. Just as clarity feels close, the drama escalates again.
If you're proven to be Mr. Johnson's father, what are your hopes for the future?
If I am proven to be Mr. Johnson's father, I'm gonna definitely, be a good role model, a mentor, do all the type of stuff that a dad is supposed to do for a up-and-coming young man. I know it's very important for a young man to have a father in his life, and it's never too late.
Tissues ready? Ms. Johnson gets emotional praising Damien, with even Judge Lake chiming in. Everyone's feeling warm and fuzzy until, bam, another possible dad enters the scene.
Is there anything you want to say to your son? He is such an amazing young man.
He is, and I love him so much.
I love you too, Mom.
He excels at everything he does. He's amazing. People are missing out, and it's not fair at all to any of them. I feel in my heart that he's Damien's, the only one to carry on his name.
The plot thickens. There's now a 6th potential dad, Mr. Harmon, who admits to casual history with Ms. Johnson. He steps up to share his story, and awkwardness ensues.
We have 5 potential fathers.
There's another one.
So that is potential father number 6.
Yes.
And who is this man?
Mr. Harmon. There wasn't one. We hung out a couple times and had a couple sexual encounters, and that was it.
Chaos continues. Mr. Harmon only learned 4 weeks ago he might be Damien's dad. He's shocked but willing to cooperate. As suspicions grow, the moment of truth inches closer.
When is the first time you heard Damien could potentially be your biological son?
4 weeks ago.
Ms. Johnson reached out to you?
Well, we're friends. We're still friends.
Oh, wow. But you never knew
No.
he could potentially be your biological son?
No, I didn't. I have other kids, but I don't think that he's mine.
Grab more tissues. Damien shares how growing up without a dad made him feel left out. Judge Lake gives him an empowering pep talk, but the suspense over his father's identity is unbearable.
I feel like I'm not as good as everybody else because they all got dads.
Oh,
Don't ever feel
just
like
break
that.
the heart. Don't you ever feel like that. You are worth it. You are just as good. That's why we're here for you, because you are important. Today or not, you still are worth it.
The results drop. Mr. Harmon and Mr. Slaughter are not the father. It's a roller coaster of dashed hopes, and the search continues with no end in sight.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Harmon, you are not the father. These results pertain to Mr. Slaughter. It has been determined by this court. Mr. Slaughter is not the father.
Mr. Henley is also ruled out, Ms. Johnson is convinced it's Mr. Ellerson, and a DNA test with his mom is next. The suspense is suffocating.
22-year-old Damien Johnson. It has been determined by this court. Mr. Henley, you are not the father.
Heartbreak hits hard.
It has been determined by this court. The percentage of relatedness between Miss Lethea Murray and Damien Johnson is 0.00%. You are not related.
This story is a roller coaster from the start. The judge kicks off Curtis versus Buckley, with Miss Curtis claiming Mr. Buckley is her son Xavier's father. Mr. Buckley denies it, accusing Miss Curtis of cheating, and the drama begins.
Miss Curtis, you say this court date is extremely important to you. You're here to prove to your ex-fiance, Mr. Buckley, that he fathered your 22-month-old son Xavier, because his denial has left you homeless and in need of help.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Curtis says Mr. Buckley's actions left her and her baby Buckley in a homeless shelter. She shares tearful details of life as resident 1625. Mr. Buckley tries to defend himself, but the tension is rising.
With him being in and out of our life and kicking us, not only me, but his son out of his apartment, we landed in a homeless shelter. I was known as resident 1625, sleeping in a twin-sized bed with my son.
That's not true.
Sharing
did not kick her out.
Everything with other residents in the homeless shelter.
You say he kicked you out, Miss Curtis?
He went to his landlord.
Mr. Buckley claims he can't have kids, citing failed relationships and a fertility specialist. Miss Curtis fires back, saying, "It only takes one fast swimmer." The courtroom turns into a battle of science and emotions.
Your Honor, I don't think I can have kids for multiple reasons.
It only takes one fast swimmer.
I was in a relationship before and we tried to conceive a child. We went to fertility specialists and we were on medicine and kept up with ovulation dates and the whole nine. And as soon as we separated, she ended up having 2 other children.
Miss Curtis recalls her 13-hour labor and emergency C-section with Mr. Buckley by her side. She says seeing him crying in the nursery made her fall in love again. But Mr. Buckley's doubts linger.
I was in labor for 13 and a half hours. Mr. Buckley was with me for the whole 13 and a half hours. I have pictures of him at the hospital. I ended up having to have an emergency C-section because little Xavier's oxygen level dropped and he was in distress. And when I woke up and they wheeled me by the nursery to see him, Mr. Buckley was standing there with tears running down his face. That was the moment that I fell in love with Mr. Buckley.
A witness claims Miss Curtis's house had frequent male visitors, complete with a diagram of her view. Miss Curtis insists they were friends and says one was learning English. The drama escalates.
She done came and confided in me and told me about the other guys.
What exactly could you see from your door to hers?
I could see men coming out of this door. And her
How?
running
When
up
I don't
there,
even use that
and
door.
her running up to the Africans up at the other apartments up top.
The Africans I
They
was
were
teaching English to because he came from Africa and
That's
didn't
a lie.
speak English. He didn't speak
He spoke English to me.
Child support becomes the next battleground. Miss Curtis accuses Mr. Buckley of quitting his job to avoid payments, but he says he's back at work and signed the birth certificate out of love.
Are you currently paying child support?
On
No, he
child
quit his
support,
job so he
Honor,
wouldn't have to.
I'm working right now. I'm missing out on
Just
work right
started.
now. I just started back.
Father's name, Xavier Buckley.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's you.
Correct.
You signed it voluntarily.
Yes, Your Honor.
And is there a child support order?
Yes, Your Honor.
He was supposed to pay $216 a month, and then when he quit his job, they dropped it down to $80 a month.
The DNA results reveal
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Buckley, you are not his father.
Oh, baby.
Oh boy, things kick off wild. Ms. Short and her mom storm in, accusing Mr. Johnson of denying he's the dad of baby Jabari. She's juggling school and parenting and wants him to step up, while Mr. Johnson's like, let's see the DNA first. Trust me, it only gets crazier from here.
Ms. Short, you and your mother opened your case today because your first love, the defendant, denies he fathered your 21-month-old son, Jabari. You are a single teenage mother who needs help, and you demand Mr. Johnson step up and be a father.
This part's emotional, but a roller coaster. Ms. Short shares how tough it is being a single mom and needing a father figure for Jabari. Her mom chimes in, wanting the truth, but instead of answers, things get way messier.
And my son, as a boy, need a father figure. And I need extra help, like while I'm in school.
She just need to know, is he the father? So he can step up and do the right thing, hopefully. You know, we can't make him, but we need to know, because I did stop him from coming over because I didn't want no feelings to get involved.
It's pure soap opera. They met on Facebook, fell in love, and he was her first everything. Then drama strikes. She caught him with another girl, moved on quickly, and slept with both guys within days. Now the timeline's a math problem.
It was on Facebook. We used to text. He was my first kiss, first everything. Me and Mr. Johnson had sex April 23rd. I seen him on Facebook with another female, and I was like, he just left me. After that happened, it was May 3rd. I went out to eat with some friends, met the other boy, and this not my first time meeting him, but this the first time we ever had sex.
Now it's Mr. Johnson's turn to spill tea. He didn't know about the pregnancy until 6 months in and was ready to step up. But rumors of another guy shook his confidence, and he's questioning everything.
I was away. I found out she was pregnant 6 months into her pregnancy. She told my mom and dad she was pregnant and I could be the father. So at the time, I'm thinking that the baby's mine. At the end of the day, when I come home from being away, I got her friends coming to me, talking to me about the other dude. I I was there. When she called me and asked me for stuff, I was there to help her.
Ms. Short says her pregnancy timeline matches her time with Mr. Johnson, but admits another guy was in the picture. It feels like a real-life Who's the Daddy with high stakes and real tears.
My due date was January 14th. I had sex with Mr. Johnson April 23rd. And May 3rd, it's just too close.
You reached out to them as well to say that it is a possibility that he could be the biological father. You also know that Mr. Johnson is a very real possibility because of the proximity of the time you had sex with Mr. Johnson and the time you had sex with the other guy.
Mr. Johnson wrote a heartfelt letter promising to be a great dad if the baby was his. But when he heard about the other guy, doubts crept in. It's sweet for a moment until the looming DNA results remind you of the chaos.
He writes, I'll be there for you and my child. I love all mine. That one thing you ain't got to worry about. I'm going to be a great father to my children. So he wrote that letter and promised you in that moment that he was going to be a good father to his child and believed, it seems, that it was his child.
Judge Lake goes all in, asking, what were you thinking? She reminds them parenting isn't a joke and drops truth bombs left and right. Then she tees up the moment we've all been waiting for, the results.
And what is troubling me in this moment, I have done my best to be patient. I have been frustrated. And now you've gotten yourself into this whole big drama about the situation, much less be prepared to take care of a living child, this beautiful little boy, and this is babies having babies, and this has got to stop.
The room goes silent as the DNA results come in. Bam!
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Johnson, you are the father.
This case kicks off with a bang, and you're going to be glued to it. Judge Lake starts the case of Mackenzie Vieser's Guy, where Ms. Mackenzie accuses Mr. Guy of running off after their baby was born, because apparently he already has a small village of kids. Mr. Guy denies it all, saying he never believed he was the dad. Things are about to get awkward fast.
Ms. Mackenzie, you say Mr. Guy abandoned you and your daughter, Anaya, soon after she was born, and denies he's her father only because he already has too many kids. Mr. Guy, you say you knew this wasn't your child from the moment Ms. Mackenzie said she was pregnant.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, this is wild. Mr. Guy basically says, I've got enough kids, no thanks. Ms. Mackenzie shares that when she told him about the baby, he claimed it'd be his 13th kid, but now he's backpedaling, saying, nah, it's only 8. Either way, the math isn't mathing, and it's getting spicy.
Well, when I told him that I was pregnant, he kind of was shocked a little bit. Then he was like, she gonna be my 13th daughter. How can I take care of all of them?
His what child?
13th kid.
I told her I had 8.
And then it was they kept popping up. I even went to school
That
with
was
one of
the
his
other
kids.
dude.
No.
You went to school with some of his
With
kids?
his kids. We was in college together.
This next part is bananas. Ms. Mackenzie says that after they left the hospital, Mr. Guy dropped the baby on the floor in her car seat, said he had to run an errand, and never came back. Imagine coming home with a newborn and being ghosted like this, and you won't believe what else she says next.
After I had her, he was at the hospital and everything. When he brought us home, he just basically set her on the floor in her car seat. He was like, I gotta go run an errand. And he never came back. So he just left her there. He just left us there for months.
So you're there just caring for this child?
Caring for her.
Are you calling him?
Yes, I called him I called him so many times. He even at one point just stopped answering my phone calls.
Oh, here comes his excuse, and it's a doozy. Mr. Guy admits to ignoring Ms. Mackenzie's calls, saying she was harassing him about the baby. Even though he admits they were together, he's convinced the kid isn't his because of what he calls her lying ways. The blame game is just getting started.
Mr. Guy, have you been avoiding her calls all that time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why?
She was harassing me.
Harassing you about what?
Baby this, baby that.
Because she's your baby.
That ain't my baby,
Were you sleeping with her?
I was sleeping
Were
with
you
her.
using protection?
No, Your Honor.
So how do you think you're excluded from possibility?
When the baby was born, I was at the hospital, looked at the baby, I said, this ain't my baby.
Here's where it gets messy, like soap opera messy. Mr. Guy accuses Ms. Mackenzie of cheating, saying he saw men lurking around her place. She claps back, saying they were just friends giving her rides. If you think this is bad, wait until you hear what he says next.
Because the instances that I catch her telling lies. One time, me and my brother pulled up. She was sitting in the car with somebody, and they was there for a while because we was sitting up there watching them.
What were they doing in the car?
I thought they was having sex.
Really?
That night that he's talking about, I called him and he told me to come over to his house. When I got there, he was not there.
Enter Ms. McKenzie's mom, and she's not holding back. She says Mr. Guy wasn't just a deadbeat. He was out clubbing while ignoring his kid. She even claims he'd disappear for days at a time. If you thought it couldn't get worse for him, buckle up, it's about to.
I'm really upset at Mr. Guy because he denying my granddaughter. She really don't even know who he is. And I did live with them for a while, and he goes to the club. He might not even come in for 2 or 3 days.
He says I stress him because I feel like if we're adults and we live together, we're trying to build a family, you should be doing your part as much as I'm doing my part. If we're a unit, we're a unit.
This part is a little ridiculous. Mr. Guy literally brings a school schedule as evidence. He's convinced Ms. McKenzie wasn't taking classes because the schedule ends at 5 p.m., but she'd come home at midnight. Ms. McKenzie fires back, explaining her packed days with school, work, and raising her kid. But let's be real, this Exhibit A feels more like Exhibit LOL.
As you see right here, Your Honor, 7:45, this is the actual schedule they be having. 7:45 a.m., that's when classes begin. And 4:55 p.m., that's when classes end, the last class.
And you say she didn't get home till midnight.
She didn't get home till midnight.
So where are you? Class don't last that long.
I have no idea.
And now for the I didn't sign it plot twist. Mr. Guy denies ever signing Ania's birth certificate, but Ms. McKenzie insists he was there during the birth, holding her hand and signing the papers. The court produces evidence with his name and signature. It's about to get real as we head toward the truth.
Do you remember them having you sign an affidavit or an acknowledgement of paternity?
No.
Just somehow your name got up on that birth certificate?
He held my hand through birth.
I'm just
He
seeing
said
where
he was
the
the only
signature
person
at.
there. He was the only person there when I had my daughter. He held my hand during birth.
And then just dropped you off at the house?
Like we was nothing.
Why did you even come to the hospital? If it wasn't your child, why even show?
Because he was at my house.
This is it, the big moment.
It has been determined by this court. Guy, you are her father.
This case is a wild soap opera in the making. Judge Lake introduces the Eggleston twins, who claim their dad, Rodney Eggleston, isn't their biological father. They're here for a DNA test, suspecting Rodney's claim is just a cover for financial issues. Drama and secrets abound, with no end to the twists.
You and your identical twin sister state that the man who raised you recently shocked you when he announced that he is not your biological father. You've petitioned the court for a paternity test because you believe finances are motivating your alleged father's claims. That you know for sure that the plaintiff's father is a white man and you are not their biological dad.
Imagine your dad loudly announcing you're not his kids at a family party. That's exactly what happened to the twins. Overhearing Rodney say, "Y'all know they're not mine," in front of everyone. They dismissed it as drunken talk until it turned into a courtroom showdown.
Well, it all started about a year ago at his birthday party. And we overheard him speaking to some of our family members saying, "Y'all know these not my kids." That's what he was saying. We heard him. Now we was listening, saying to our family members, "Y'all know they're not my kids.
I'm down here raising." That's what he was explaining to the rest of our family members.
But our family members didn't say anything back.
Yeah,
Nobody said anything. It was just dry. But I'm thinking he's just speaking under the influence of alcohol.
Things get messier when Rodney recalls doubting their mom after overhearing her ask another man for money during her pregnancy. Despite the red flags, he signed the birth certificates and raised them. If you think Rodney's conflicted, just wait. It only gets wilder.
I was coming home one day and she was in the backyard barbecuing, and I noticed this big, beautiful smile. Made a date, you know. Eventually, we got together, and next thing you know, I'm living in her mama's basement, and not too soon after that, she's on the phone calling some guy out, telling him to send money. You know, I'm pregnant, and she's looking at me going like this.
The twins describe a rough upbringing, with no structure and a coach stepping in to buy their school supplies. Rodney defends himself as a struggling single parent, but the twins paint a picture of neglect. This isn't just about money. There's emotional baggage, too.
You know, because my mom, she's gone. So even if whatever the DNA test shows, we don't even have her side, you know?
When did you lose your mom?
When we were 8 years old, in front of us, you know, away from our family, away from, you know, everything that we do.
When your mom passed away, he did take you in?
Yes, and he took it.
Later.
Rodney claims their pale skin and a rare condition suggest a white man is their real dad. The twins clap back, saying their research disproves his theory. A witness adds fuel, mentioning their mom's relationship with a white man, turning the drama into a full-blown circus.
And you know that a white man is their father.
When we went to a doctor, she got marks on her back, and the doctor questioned.
Skin. Okay.
And
Which
they
I can
questioned.
clarify that.
First thing she come out, the doctor was, "Dad, are you sure y'all got the wrong babies? You know, you didn't get the wrong babies?" I said, "Okay, here we go again." You know, so I'm not the biological dad, okay?
Grandma Eggleston delivers a scathing video message, blaming Rodney for doubting the twins after raising them. Her words hit hard, and the twins share their pain over their mom's absence. Just when you think it can't get more emotional, the biggest twist is revealed.
Rodney said he's not the father. After 18 years, he should have said this from the very beginning when the first month when Sophia died. That's what he should have said when the twins were born. And I don't want Rodney to tell me ever again that he's not the father.
And that's true.
The twins express their desire for Rodney to be their dad. Despite everything, they discovered his secret journal, revealing years of doubt and pain. As DNA results loom, everyone hopes for closure, but tension runs high.
What you want going forward?
You know, I have always had that daddy's little girl mentality.
Yeah.
You know, coming from my point of view, I want him to be the dad, you know, because, you know, I'm always gonna cover from him, you know, but at the same time,
And that's the thing, has that over her.
Yeah.
Mr. Eggleston, you are their father.